Right, okay, I lied a bit earlier, but I'm saying that, I think we finished the most difficult bits of routing on the bodies. Um, this next bit I found incredibly fiddly, um, and basically it involves routing the underside of this control cavity. Now the thing is, you can imagine the knobs near the end of the body go through a fairly thin piece of maple, which is absolutely no problem at all. But as you come up the the like the arch top, the wood gets very thick there, and normal pots won't go through. So what Gibson did was they actually routed a slope on a section of the underside of this maple here. Now this was definitely done by hand in the factory, because the variation you get in the control cavity routes is like it's renowned sort of thing. But typically, like here's a picture of a 59 route, and you can basically see this is towards the inside of the body, near the bridge and strings, and you can, I hope you can see basically that if you look at the they've got a sort of a bit of mahogany left at the bottom of the body here. This is why you can see it on this one. There's this light line here runs across there, and you can see that's where the maple starts. And if you look on this side, there, you can see a step. So that underside of that maple has been routed at a curve going down to make it thinner for these pots to go through. Now that was a photo of a 59. Now this is what I basically did on my bursts. Was I routed, you can see more plainly here, I routed the slope down here, and these sections are left in, but there's certain things that you can tell on 59s and things. You can see that this actual bit here will have a taper on it. It actually starts thinner, less wide at the bottom, and ends up getting wider. Now you can see that on here. See how much wider it is at the top than at the bottom. That's not an optical illusion, it does actually do that, and you can see these little crescent marks on here, and I'll explain why, and one here. Why is that extra mark there? And I'll explain that now, because basically the underside of this was routed with a bloody great long router cutter at an angle. So as the router comes down to cut that angle, it starts chewing away at this edge here, and that's why this ends up being tapered. It doesn't go straight down, it's cut like at a taper, because this thing is coming down a slope and cuts that at a taper. Also, as it comes down here, it'll take away a little bit of this at the top, which is typically known as the chew mark, and equally here it'll take a little bit out as well as it comes downhill. So that's why you get these odd marks in the in the routing. Now this is a photo I took of the 53 gold top. Let's get it so you can see it without the shine on it, sort of thing. And you can see the edge of the maple there. You can see this is slightly wider at the top, but there aren't any chew marks on there because there's a little step, there's a little bit of maple left there, and I'm guessing that, you know, with that step out, that the router wouldn't have touched the top too much, probably just like a little bit, but it's missing the chew mark there. But anyway, you know, you can see it's the same process. But what you do realize with these, I mean, I scoured the internet and found literally probably 10-20 photos of the top, and they are, you know, they are quite significantly different. I mean, some of them are so badly routed. I mean, here's one from I've labelled it up in 1956, and you can see it's very nicely routed. That little lip that I showed on the 53 doesn't exist, so this is sloped quite, you know, quite evenly all the way down, and you know, you can just see up there just a tiny little nick at the top where the router cutter's caught it, but here there's quite a big chunk taken out. And you'll find, if you look at control cavities of like you know, 50s Gibsons, they vary a hell of a lot, but you know, you do see some consistency, and that's why these valuers and assessors on guitars, they know what little bits to look for. But like I say, in the 53 I looked at, there was certainly no mahogany left in the bottom here. It was all maple, and so that's what I'm going for. But what I end up doing, and this is really touchy-feely stuff, I've made this kind of pattern, and you can see it's got a wedge cut on it. So I fit that to the body, and then I try and get this straight edge to actually match where the slope starts, which is just below this pothole and just above that pothole. So if I put this on like that, I can roughly see where I'm meant to be going, and like it's a real, you know, it's just a case of moving stuff around till it's like in the right place, and then I dry run with the router going round, and then literally hold my breath and hope I get it right. But I must confess, what I do is I screw this down and sacrifice a few holes in the bottom of the body. I mean, in this, you know, mahogany is so like you know, fussier grain, you don't even see the holes when you've done it. But I can screw it in place, I can try it, you know, and see what happens when I do a dry run going around with the router, and then, you know, I can wiggle it a little bit, wedge little bits underneath it if I want it more sloped or something like that. So, but it is a real seat of your pants kind of thing, and I cut a little bit off. I mean, you know, the thickness you take it down to depends on, you know, your arch profile and everything like that. So, you know, you roughly want, I don't know how many millimeters, I'm guessing you roughly want about 3 or 4 millimeters thickness at the top ones to get the pots through. And then you know, what you've got to consider then is leaving a bit of extra meat in the thickness, so you've got room to sand the top. But it's one of those things that I'm going to have the video switched off until I'm ready to go and then just show you. But I bought this is a 3-inch long cutter, and again it actually works very, very well, but you know, it's a long fucker, isn't it, really, and a bit dangerous, but it does do the job quite well when you know, when you do it. But I'll get set up and then bring you back, and I can show you what I've done. Well, here's my first run with the router, and you can see it's actually done quite well. You can see the shape just in there of this little section and along there, and we've actually taken a little bit off the top and we've put a chew mark in there, which is all quite nice. And then round here we're just starting to get this properly done, but the actual chamfer is starting there, so I've got to lower the thing a little bit, and I'll just keep creeping down on it, but it's going okay. Also, I've taken off the blooming safety bleeding, I think it's actually more dust extraction plastic, so I can actually see what I'm doing, which is quite nice. But I'm gonna like keep going down a little bit, and we'll see which way should I do it. I think I'll do it this way. See how that turns out. Right, you can see in there now we're like we're getting this shape, which is correct. We've got still got the little chew mark there. That won't be affected by the depth of cut. That will be how that's finished. I think ideally I don't know. I think the whole thing should push that way a little bit, so I'm going to slacken it off and try, because I think this thing should be, you know, if you put a pot in there, that it would still hit there, and I would like to try and get a little chew mark on there, and I think that's what I might try and do, so I'll get back to you anyway. Well, I'm absolutely buzzing with that. That came out perfect. You know, I spent a lot of time making that template, but just with trial and error, and as you can see, I've finished routing the actual line is about there, so starting above that pot, just above that pot, and then just below this pot. Now I don't want to go any further than that. The 59 was actually a bit more than that, but if you consider the 59's got a thicker top, so you know, you'd want more material taken away at this end, so I'm 100% happy with that. You can see now the chew mark here is perfect. You know, that's exactly where it should be, and we've even, when I shoved it forward a little bit, we've even got, look, there's a little tiny chew mark on there, which is just perfect. And then you've got the ridge of the maple down here shaped around the pots, and the pot will fit nicely in there, and that's exactly how it should be. Got a step there, and then coming round here you've got another step here around where the pot would be. So I mean, and then this section here that should be wider at the top and bottom, it's perfect because the cutter cut the top away. Just that's really quite exciting for me, actually, I must confess. And you've got a little catch on the router there because it was bent back, and it really, one of the things about this is, sorry to be a bit like giddy with excitement on this, I know it seems small beans, but when you actually do something and you realise, well, that's how it must have been done in the factory, and the reason why it was done, then all these little bits like the chew marks and whatnot just happen as they would have done back in the day. And I've seen a lot of people on YouTube making Les Pauls where they get like a Frosner bit and cut that chew mark there to make it look real, and they carve the bottom of this out, but they're not really understanding why it actually is like that. It's like that so you can get the goddamn pots in. You know, later on in years they used pots with longer shafts, so it didn't have to do that. But you know, as a result of doing that now, it's as it perfectly would have been, and that, believe me, that is quite exciting for me to see that. I mean, I think that's, you would not be able to tell that from a Gibson. And what I've done as well is I've shoved a drill through these holes and measured the, you know, the depth of the top, and we'll easily get pots in there now. So that's a real bit exciting for me, that is. I say sorry to get a bit like woohoo, but there we go. Excellent, thank you very much. Well, here's the second one. You know, we can see, here we go, one of the chew marks, a bit of a chew mark there, very slight chew mark there, which is all perfect. And then we've got the step in the maple there, tapering up here, and you know, the shape of it is absolutely spot on. You know, like I'm so pleased with that. And the thing is that with you know, like I say, when I like looked at you know, I've looked at loads of Gibson pictures of the control cavity, and it really almost looked like a, you know, the variation was immense in how they looked. So you know, what we've done there is the correct method, and it's turned out like that. But I mean, I have seen some pictures of control cavities that just look like a real Friday afternoon whiz round with a router sort of thing, and it's just a mess. I mean, I will try and find some pictures on this. Hi ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome back to 3R Guitars and this build on these early 50s Les Paul guitars. Yesterday we did the rather clever bit of routing in there that I really love the look of, just looks so original. We did the pickups as well, the T sections in the bottom of the pickups. Now we're going to do the binding. Now the thing is with this is it's a bit awkward to do because of the arch top. You just can't, you know, get a bearing guided router and like you know, go round the edge, because you can't sit the router on the arch top. There could be a way of doing it where, you know, you do it from, you know, putting the body on the you know, router table and some kind of guide and just go round. But the problem you get is that this bit here, where it actually raises up, you end up with, you know, the router has really got to follow the curve of this, and this is the awkward bit to do. Now I can't claim this as being a totally my own idea. There's several people who've made a bit of equipment similar to it, with draw runners and things like that, where you can make the router go up and down and follow a surface contour. But this down here is my bit of gizmo I built for it, and basically you can see it raises up and down. So you push the guitar body under here. I'll show you later, but there's kind of a little dome thing under here that as the body goes round, it'll follow the correct height. So your router goes in here and then comes out the bottom there. You push the body underneath where my hand is, and then it'll follow. So basically, the depth of the cut, this is one of the cutters, the depth of the cut is dictated by how much this cutter sticks out the bottom. Again, I'll do this in more detail when we're ready to do it. It's just an introduction. And then so that's the depth of the cut, you know, the width of the binding, 5mm or something like that, whatever it is. And then the thickness of the binding is dictated by these fancy bearing guided routers, where the bearing is actually smaller than the cutter, and you get this array of different bearings you can put on it, which gives you the different depths of cut. Now, this kit I bought from Stuart McDonald. One of the bearings is already given out after very little work, so I wasn't too impressed with that. But yeah, forget that one. But that's obviously the most regular used size one, which is a bit annoying. So basically, you've got to pick the bearing which leaves you, you know, the proper width for the binding. So what I'm going to do now is I'll go and check on my drawings what width and depth binding we need, and I'll get back to you. Here you go. So I've got this router cutter set up now to try and do the binding cutting. So you can see it's on this jig thing now, which moves up and down. Now if you go to the business end of it, and we look under here, you can see I've got a dome shaped piece of wood that will follow the top of the Les Paul body, and then we've got the cutter sticking down now with the bearing on it that will give us about a 1.5mm cut, and then hopefully a 4mm, 4.5mm cut down along the side of the body, 1.5 in. So I'll do a test piece, obviously, till we check all the dimensions and of the cut, and then we can get back. I'll show you how it all works. But the one thing I would say, you know, I built this jig quite a while ago to do this, and believe me, it worked shockingly well. It's basically just two parallel arms that, you know, will go up and down but keep the router upright, and it does work very well. I've seen people do this with, like, you know, kitchen drawer runners and things, so the router is in a box that effectively run up and down like a drawer. But I just did it like this because I didn't want to, like, you know, it's just kind of just as easy to do and probably cheaper because you don't have to buy drawer runners. And I quite like, you know, having this, you know, handle at the back where you can just, you know, push things down, hold things and whatnot. So I think this actually works better than that. So anyway, I'll put you down and get ready for a test. Right, okay, then I've got a test piece of mahogany in here. We'll give this just a little bit of a run and see what sort of cut we get. so there's the rebate that's been cut now, so we can check sizes of that. It usually takes a few to do it, so get it right. So let's 0 this. So what have we got dimension wise? Depth, oh hit 0 again. Right, we've got 5.5 millimeters, so it's too deep. It's got to come up a little bit. And what have we got on actual depth this way? At 1.46, so that's absolutely perfect, that depth. I like that. So we've just got to come up a fraction. Now the problem is with this bloody router is that trend routers are meant to be one of the best, and I could not recommend buying this router because it's just a complete pain in the friggin' arse to get depths right and things, and the depth stop you've got on it, you can't, it's just a bar that pushes down, and to be honest it's always coming loose, and it's a pain in the arse. So you can either you've got a handle, a thing there, you push that up. Now how are you going to raise that by 1 millimeter? I mean there's 3 millimeters there. Fucking useless thing. But I just don't know how to do it. Basically it's just until you're lucky enough to get it right. And I can put this back underneath and push it down on top of that, and so I'll struggle and get back. So just to demonstrate this gadget, I've cut a slight dip there just to show you. I've got this router now set up. This thing is set up to do the bind in the correct depths, but just to demonstrate how we follow it like a vertical curve sort of thing. So we'll just do this. Okay, so you can see how nicely that's cut that dip down there now. So it'll follow a vertical curve, and just to show you the dimensions I've got now, got 4.76 depth. It's meant to be 4.5, but don't forget we've got a bit of sanding to do, so that's fine. 4.76 that way, and this should be about 1.5 mil, something like that. 1.71 millimeters. So basically we now have this ready to do the binding cut. Now what I've done, obviously the accuracy of the binding channel will depend upon how flat the top is, how nicely sanded the edges are, sort of thing, and that there's no lumps and bumps, because they're following a pattern. I mean, this is okay, I think. So we can go ahead now and see how we go on this. Start there. It's a bit you're putting your trust in it, but because you can't see anything, so let's just go for it. I mean, and there we go, beautifully routed edge channel. I didn't quite go to the end there, but you can see now you've got that lovely maple crescent. Oops, you got that lovely maple crescent there now that's left for the binding, so you can see that, and that's very difficult to do any other way. Look how well that's worked. I mean, really lovely, isn't it? So get a little bit of binding now, and that will fit in there really nicely, you know, giving us a little bit of sanding on the edge of the body there. I mean, this is not the right thickness anyway, this is smaller than 1.5 mil, but I have to buy some, but you know. And then when we come to here on the edge, you know, we'll get the binding going and leaving that crescent of maple. It's just looks absolutely perfect, doesn't it? Because it is. Woohoo! So that's really nice. The only thing I didn't quite do was route that little bit off the edge there, but I mean, I can do that. So we've got that routed off the edge there now, so that's really nice. Yep, so how perfect is that? That's really when I first made this jig tool thing, I didn't expect it to work, and I just, you know, did a few test things, and I thought, cool, blimey, that looks cool. And then, yeah, whizzed round a body with it, and I just thought, well, that's just perfect. So there we go, that's that done. So what I've got to do now is sand all the lumps and bumps off the edges of the other body, and I'll get that routed as well. Coffee time. Cool. Ta-da! All done perfectly. Cool. So how quick and easy that is. Yeah, so this little gizmo worked perfectly. Now it's coffee time.